Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, and we got a stunning development going on all over the nation. It's a phenomenon known as county secession, where more and more rural counties in blue states are deciding that they want to redraw their state lines to subsume themselves under neighboring red states, or some are even considering forming entirely new states of their own. Now, many of you may already be familiar with what's known as the Greater Idaho Movement. It's a movement we've been covering in depth now for the last couple of years. Just a few months back, residents of Waluda County in eastern Oregon came out en masse and voted to become the 12th Oregon county to secede from their state with the hopes of joining their neighboring red state, Idaho. 12 counties and counting. Several more counties are scheduled to hold similar votes in the near future, which means that all told, we're talking half of Oregon's counties, half, are preparing to secede from their state and join up with deep red Idaho. And the Idaho legislature is all for it. The Idaho legislature just voted in favor of a bill that would move the Oregon and Idaho border westward to indeed create a greater Idaho. The bill authorizes Idaho legislatures to present a proposal to Oregon politicians about relocating the border to the Cascade Mountain Range, which would end up incorporating over 60% of Oregon's landmass into Idaho. So the Idaho legislature looks like they're ready to do this. And there's even a bill that was just introduced not too long ago in the Oregon Senate that would indeed begin talks with the Idaho legislature on adjusting the border, recognizing that the differences between urban and exurban Oregon are just simply irreconcilable. But what's so important here to recognize is that this phenomenon of county secession isn't limited to just Oregon. In California, San Bernardino County has recently voted to study the process and prospects involved in seceding from their state. San Bernardino County residents are suffering from the total mismanagement of California. I mean, from increasing living costs and to the plagues of homelessness, drug abuse, crime, you name it. And so the citizens there are openly exploring ways in which they can leave a failed state like California. But it's not just the West Coast. It's actually a movement that's growing all over the nation, wherever red counties are trapped inside blue states. I mean, take a look at this. In the blue state of Illinois, 27 counties have passed pro-secession referendums. As I'm sure you've guessed, these referendums all aim to address the growing concerns at the mega city of ultra-blue Chicago, which is frankly falling apart in every way imaginable, exercises an inordinate influence over the state's politics, such that rural counties overwhelmingly feel as if their values, interests, and concerns are being completely dismissed and not adequately represented. Some state lawmakers have even proposed bills to separate Chicago and its surrounding Cook County from the rest of the state. And we could go on and on. There are Maryland counties that want to join up with deep red West Virginia. So whether we're talking about the West Coast, the East Coast, or Midland areas of the United States, county secessionist movements are active quite literally everywhere, or at least wherever red counties feel trapped within the political paralysis of a blue state. But what's happening here is actually even more stunning. With all of these red counties coming together and networking closer and closer with each other, we've got outlets like CNN freaking out that we're beginning to see nothing less than a MAGA superstate rising up in our midst. You're going to absolutely love this. But first, gang, if you're a patriot and you're not prepared to defend your home and your family, you need to click on that link below right now before you do anything else and visit our good friends over at Countrywide Concealed and get your own concealed carry permit once and for all. So if you're like me, right, you've been wanting to do this, but you've been putting it off. You always wanted to do it. You always meant to do it, but you put it off because of all the ridiculous requirements and barriers, the pain, the hassle of getting what's ironically our constitutional right. Well, guess what? There's now an amazing solution to all of that. Countrywide Concealed is probably the quickest, easiest way for you to get your permit. And the coolest thing here is that the permit is good for the vast majority of the country. That's right. You're not just going to be getting a permit to conceal carry legally in your own state, but in 84% of the whole of the nation as well. It's as quick and as easy as just watching a video, taking a quiz, and thanks to Countrywide Concealed, your family is that much safer no matter where you go. Getting a concealed carry license, gang, has literally never been easier. Click on that link below and join the millions of patriots who've taken back their rights with Countrywide Concealed today. What's beginning to take shape here with red counties realigning themselves with each other is really nothing less than a massive MAGA superstate being formed within the country, a kind of nation within the nation, as it were. For example, when we reimagine our nation, not so much in terms of red states versus blue states, but rather in terms of red counties versus blue counties, well, as you can see, the red country, the conservative country that shapes, is overwhelming in terms of landmass. According to a study by the Brookings Institute back in 2008, Democrat voting districts encompassed about 39% of the U.S. land area as compared with 61% expanse of Republican districts. By 2018, that number changed dramatically. Democrat voting districts imploded to just 20% of the map. Republicans now dominate 80% of the nation's landmass. The Democrats have become almost an entirely urban metropolitan party. Note that this regional disparity completely does away with this whole notion of red states versus blue states. There's actually, in the end, no such thing. Again, if you take the state of Oregon, which is considered one of the most reliably blue states in the nation, 29 of their 36 counties are solid red, often voting for the Republican candidate by over 40 points. If you got rid of just one county alone in Oregon, Multnomah County, where Portland is, the Republican candidate would win the state by 10 points every time. And what's happening is that as more and more red counties begin to recalibrate themselves around each other, either formally, in terms of some kind of secession and redrawing the state's borders, or informally, just in terms of networking and strategizing, what we're seeing is the rise of nothing less than a MAGA superstate. We talk often on this channel about the rise of what are called sanctuary states, which are deep red states that are committed to protecting their citizens from any and all Democrat programs and persecutions coming from the dolts in D.C. What we've been seeing over the last couple of years is more and more red states joining together and, in effect, forming an administrative and legal wall against the assaults on our civil liberties by the blundering Biden administration. That's what CNN is so freaked out over. They're seeing pro-life policies being enacted. They're seeing anti-LGBT policies being enacted. Obviously, in what's happening in New Mexico, one of the most significant developments is the formation of what we call Second Amendment sanctuary counties, where counties promise safe havens for gun owners, with law enforcement officials promising to protect them rather than violate their Second Amendment rights. Second Amendment sanctuaries have literally exploded all across the nation, such that today the supermajority of counties in our nation are officially designated Second Amendment sanctuaries. Over 2,000 of the just over 3,000 counties in our nation have designated themselves pro-gun counties. In addition, countless sheriffs across the nation pledged to uphold the Second Amendment, including every single sheriff in the state of Utah, interestingly enough. So something very, very significant really is happening in our nation. Slowly but surely, a MAGA superstate made up of thousands upon thousands of interconnected, interlocked counties is rising up, with administrative and legal protections functioning like a fortress to protect their citizens from the tyrannical abuses of cities run by woke lunatics. It looks more and more like county secession is the key to our national renewal. Hey gang, I know what it's like to feel alone out there in these turbulent times, but I broke free. If you too have been looking for a community with like-minded patriots who are serious about resisting globalism, building a parallel economy, and having intelligent and deep fellowship on a regular basis, then you've come to the right place. In my Courageous Patriot Insiders community, we're building a close-knit movement of, by, and for patriots who are breaking free from the outrage and despair cycles of the mainstream media and taking on the fight against globalism. Every week, I deep dive into the content I can't share on big tech and give you the cliff notes on the truth of how patriots just like you are building up their communities, starting patriot businesses, and fighting the woke in both public and private. All with a few history and political lessons from yours truly, of course. If you want to stop feeling alone as a patriot and stand together with this fast-growing community, be sure to click on the link in the description below. Don't wait. Join me and my Patriot Coalition today, and let's get fighting.